Taking a look at this here, this is going to be a article that I wanted to cover because this is just something that just came out. UDOT unveils details on new $1.6 billion widening of I-15 through Salt Lake City. So it's not sure how many homes and businesses will be demolished, and the exact cost is still uncertain, though early estimates put it around $1.6 billion. Their plans to widen the interstate. This is going to be Interstate 15 from Salt Lake City to Farmington. So this is basically up through Davis County. The project comes on the heels of UDOT widening these other roads right here. Let's jump down here to these highlights. Yet the highway building, which will lead people to drive more, creating more local and global air pollution, continues. So I thought this was an interesting note. I went ahead and highlighted this because I think it's interesting thinking to say that just because you have a wider road causes people to drive more. I don't know about you, but the width of the road, or how accessible that freeway is, I don't know that really encourages me to drive more. Possibly you could argue that, hey, if you widen the road, traffic goes down, and if traffic goes down, more people are going to drive as opposed to take public transportation. Sure, I think that's an argument, but at the same time, that doesn't offset the air pollution that you're getting from all the cars that are stuck in traffic for 45 minutes idling rather than actually driving full speed when engines are most efficient. Even if there's more cars driving full speed, I still think that might actually be better for air pollution rather than just having a bunch of cars sitting in traffic, not being able to move. So interesting point there, just throwing it out there. Kind of an interesting way of thinking. I should mention that this article, whoever wrote this article, this company, Building Salt Lake, that kind of put this article together, they are against this actual plan. So, there's going to be a little bit of bias there in what we're reading here. So I just figured I'd point that out. This round of highway widening spans from 4 South in downtown Salt Lake to Farmington. That's a pretty big stretch of land. If we come in here, Farmington, Utah, just pull this up here on a map and I'll kind of show you guys what we're actually looking at. So this is Farmington here. Let me get rid of that and zoom out here. So Farmington up here. 4 South is going to be roughly right in here. So it's a pretty big stretch of freeway here. I mean, that's got to be, I don't know, it's got to be at least 12 to 15 miles if I had to guess on that. So it's going to be a pretty big stretch of land. It's been narrowed down to 2 options that UDOT is accepting feedback on at a series of open houses and online. One option would include 6 lanes in each direction, including an auxiliary lane on the sides, plus a single high occupancy vehicle lane in the middle. Add 4 more lanes for shoulder space, and I-15 would be 18 car lanes wide under option A. Option B would also have 6 lanes in each direction, plus 2 shoulders between both sides of the interstate. UDOT would create 2 high occupancy vehicle lanes, plus 2 shoulders for a total of 20 lanes across. The set of HOV lanes would be reversed during peak hours, open to southbound motorists in the morning and northbound at night. I think this is actually a pretty good idea. So they have this diagram here. I-15 option A shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lanes across, plus what would be like a merging lane if you're getting on the freeway or off the freeway. So basically 6 lanes plus HOV, making it almost 7 lanes across on each side. So pretty wide there. But the thing is, when I look at this, I think Utah kind of needs this feature because of the way that the Salt Lake Metro is laid out. Most of the traffic goes north to south, right? You've got Ogden up here on the north end. You've got Provo down here on the south end, Salt Lake here in the middle. I-15 is the main corridor that connects all of these areas, right? So that's over 2.5 million people that are connected through I-15, as their main north-south corridor. So looking at this, I think it's something that's definitely needed. If you've ever tried to go from Salt Lake up into the north end, into Davis County, or even up into Weber, if you're going at rush hour, forget it. You're going to be sitting in traffic for 45 minutes, maybe an hour, just to travel that short distance. So I think it's personally needed, but I like looking at this option B that they have. Let's see. I thought it was on here. There we go. Yeah. So option B, they have that same auxiliary line. They're going to have 5 lanes, plus an HOV lane. And then they're going to have these HOT lanes, which are in the middle, which will actually give you additional lanes depending on the flow of traffic for the time of day. So like it said, in the morning, it'll be southbound motorists, and then at night, it'll be northbound motorists. They actually did this on 5300 South on from about Redwood Road, I think, to, I don't know, Bangor Highway or something. And it dramatically decreased the traffic that you see there. They actually have it set up so there can be 2 lanes one way during off hours. But if it's peak hours when there's a lot of people commuting, it'll actually go up to 5 lanes in one direction. So it's actually pretty smart. I think it's actually pretty safe. I'm sure there's been accidents and stuff from these changing lanes, but overall, I think it's a great idea personally. There are streets in Salt Lake City's Guadalupe and Fair Park neighborhoods that are very near the interstate. 700 West is also within the area of potential impact. So there are going to be some houses and businesses that unfortunately are going to, have to get demolished if they move forward with this. For Rose Park and Marmalade, the 600 North overpass would be widened to 8 lanes at its peak from its current 6. Beck would also become connected to I-15 at a new interchange added at 2100 North in Salt Lake City, which state officials say might divert heavy truck traffic from gravel companies and refineries so that they avoid Marmalade and Capitol Hill. They're anticipating that this will not increase taxes, right? You heard it here first. Your taxes will not be increased for this project, added Dan Adams, a consultant working with UDOT. But there are more fiscally responsible options for the state to consider and the public to request. For instance, not expanding the interstate. UDOT says this option would lead to pre-pandemic travel times increasing from about 20 minutes to about an hour without this highway expansion. It's worth noting that traffic modeling used to project how many people will be driving in 3 decades is routinely overinflated. In some cases, the state's projection were off by 30%, meaning nearly 1 in 3 drivers the state said would be using US 89 in the future never came. The state is just wrapping up that project now. So pretty interesting conversation here about widening the road here. These guys are obviously against it. I personally am kind of for it. I think it would actually be good. I hate sitting in traffic, and there's a cost to this. There's always going to be pros and cons. I think it would actually be more beneficial to not have people sitting in traffic. It's going to make people, happier. It's also going to save them time. I think economically, it makes sense. Again, so long as it doesn't come out of taxes, that's important. But that being said, I don't know. I think something's got to be done because the traffic really sucks and nobody wants to, experience that. That's what they did in Lehigh, and lo and behold, there's no traffic there anymore. So, it's pretty amazing what, widening these lanes or widening the freeway can do. If you're moving to Utah, reach out to me. You can find my information in the description box below. As always, you can call, text, or email me if you have questions about your, individual situation, or, whether you should buy, whether you should sell, maybe you should rent a house, whatever it might be, anything real estate related. I'd love to help you if I can. But with that being said, guys, stay tuned. We've got another video coming out tomorrow. And then again on Tuesday at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, we'll have our weekly, standard video that comes out. We're pretty much doing Fridays and Tuesdays at this point at 5 o'clock Mountain Time. So you can plan on that release schedule. And then I'll be back here every Thursday night at 7 o'clock to do a quick little live stream with everybody. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.